People in their 40s and 50s with no kids. What's it like? Story 1. I'm very glad to have been a part of the lives of my brother's kids, but I would have been a terrible parent myself, so it's all good. Reply 1. This. I was such a screw-up in my 20s to mid-30s. By the time I got my crap straight and found a person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, I was about to turn 40. We both agreed that the ship has sailed and it's selfish to force any thoughts of children on kids that would be in high school when I'm in my 60s. I love my nieces and nephews, my best friend's kids, but that's it. Reply 2. My parents had me when they were 39 and 42. Their age never bothered me. I didn't feel like they were old at all, especially my dad because he was active and fun. Maybe sometimes parents think about this stuff more than children. I feel like the early 40s isn't that old to have children. Just take care of your health and try to live long for them. Reply 3. Yes, I adore being an aunt. I mean, I'm technically in my 30s for a few more days and the kids are very young, but I took the toddler to the zoo on Friday. We had a blast. She's pretty little to get a lot of it, but she really loved watching the meerkats zoom around their habitat. But after that, I was physically destroyed for the rest of the day, but I gotta give her back and go rest, so it's perfect. I could never keep up with a kid 24/7. Reply 4, that's the best part, handing them back over to mom and dad at the end of the day. My wife and I babysat our friend's 4-year-old a couple of years ago. She's incredibly active and quite smart. We took her out to a local park hoping she would burn off her energy. Nope. We then came home and did puzzles and board games, which she loved, but was still full of energy. It got to about 7:30 that night, and my wife and I were falling asleep on the couch watching Bluey while the 4-year-old was still bouncing off the walls. When her parents picked her up later that night, we both said to them we have no idea how they keep up with her all the time and that we were so glad we didn't have any kids of our own. Reply 5, I worried I might be a terrible parent, but probably for different reasons than you. My parents were domineering tyrant psychopaths, and I was afraid that if there was a chance to become like them, then I didn't want to expose a child to it. People tell me I'm a mellow person, but people describe my parents as mellow and easygoing in their youth. I'm old enough to know that 10-15 years can change a person significantly. I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago, and while I feel I am better off now than what I was, I don't know who or what I would be in the future, and I'm not going to gamble on that to have a child. Story 2. I definitely think it was the right choice for me. Gotta be honest with myself, I am a little lazy and selfish, and while I think I might have been a decent dad, I don't think I would have been a happy one. Reply 1. This really puts things into perspective for me. People always say they think I'd be a great dad. I think I could have been a good dad. But my happiness definitely would have taken a back seat. Maybe as a dad I would have been okay with that. But maybe not. And I'd hate to blame my lack of happiness on my children who would have had no choice in the matter. Reply 2. I love my kids more than anything in the universe. They make me smile, laugh, and bring out the kid in me that I thought was long gone. That said, they have also given me a huge amount of stress and made me constantly exhausted. Especially when they're young, it just never stops. There are no sick days for you or mental health days. You're busy from dawn, and likely before, to dusk, and likely after. If you work a job, good luck taking time off after the birth without your bosses rolling their eyes because you're a guy. Having a kid has made me and my wife even more pro-choice because damn, I could not imagine doing all this if I didn't sign up for it. Reply 3. I feel this exact same way. I might have been a good dad, but I already feel pretty overwhelmed and busy and like I don't have enough time to pursue my hobbies and interests, what with working full-time in a career that I take very seriously and is fairly demanding, and needing to balance my interests with that of being a supportive and present partner in my marriage and maintaining a home and friendships. I've never really been that interested in kids, but I bet I could have pulled it off and done a good job. But I really worry that I would have ended up resenting my children for absorbing the rest of the limited free time I have left to myself after my other adult responsibilities are fulfilled. That, and I've never really had any interest in it, so it's not like something I would undertake joyfully. I imagine that I would probably grow to like it, but even doing things with my 3-year-old nephew who I love so much, starts to feel like a chore after about half a day. The only serious relationship I had before I met my wife ended after 5 years because she changed her mind about having kids, and I was upfront from the beginning that I didn't want them, so we decided to go our separate ways so she could do that. And there's never been a single second of my life where I think, what if, about my decision to go my separate ways because of it. I've gamed out having kids to myself a million times. It's not something I take lightly, and I feel very confident in my choice. Reply 4. You made the right decision. I grew up with a mother who resented me for being a burden. Well, guess what? It wasn't my choice. What the hell is a little kid supposed to do about that kind of thing? Left me with a lot of emotional trauma. Reply 5. Same. I feel you 100%. Grew up with a mother who made it known she was never meant to be a mother. My mom obviously cared for me and took care of me, but it was never in a genuinely nurturing way, more in a, I have to do this to keep you alive, lol. I'm a 29-year-old female, and this definitely sticks with me. I get worried I will be the same way, blame my children for my lack of overall happiness, or be annoyed with the thought of their existence. A child never asked to be here, so why even put them in a situation where you can't guarantee pure happiness, or at least a nurturing environment? I feel that is the most important thing for a child to feel. Story 3. On the one hand, I seriously envy my friends who have 2 lovely sons who are now in high school. On the other hand, I'm glad that I'm not my sister and brother-in-law who have 2 spawns of Satan who are 4 and 6. Reply 1. My sister is a mess, and my parents had to step in and basically raise her 2 kids. My friends are at the stage where their children are becoming adults, and some of them are royally messing up their lives. Watching my parents deal with my sister and my friends deal with their kids, I'm so glad I didn't reproduce. I don't have one regret. People always assume their kids will be great. In reality, it's a crapshoot, and you could end up with kids that make your life hell. Reply 2. My uncle is living this at the moment. His 30-year-old daughter has had her 4 kids taken off of her, and he stepped in to foster them so they don't get put into care. It's slowly destroying him, though. Reply 3. 4 children with presumably high needs, having been taken from their mother, and assuming your uncle is in his late 50s or 60s. Dear God, I can barely do it day to day with my own children. Imagining that situation is breaking my heart for your uncle. Reply 4. Sadly, this is very common across America. Grandparents stepping in to raise grandchildren that they don't want lost to the family. These are people preparing for their retirements, taking on the responsibility financially, physically, and emotionally of young children or babies that often have special needs. In some cases, they still have a living parent who also requires help. I watch these incredible people in amazement. How they keep going, often setting aside their own care requirements, is incomprehensible to me. We never know what life may throw our way, no matter what choices we carefully make. Reply 5. Personally, I think we should push more people to be on birth control, or put up for adoption, or abort the fetus if they are unable to care for the child by themselves. Honestly, it's ridiculous. There are so many unwanted children that are not being taken care of, yet there are plenty of people still pushing out those unwanted children. That child didn't ask to be born in a horrible living situation. It's about damn time we should be waiting until people are financially and emotionally stable to be a parent. Also, most parents I am seeing nowadays are shoving iPads in their kids' hands and not interacting with them. Parents are forgetting that they literally need to teach these little things how to be a good human being. Reply 6. My 3 nephews were taken from both their mom and dad and placed with my parents. My mother ended up hospitalized and suffered pancreatitis due to the stress of the kids, and my brother's federal proceedings and subsequent convictions just added to their stress and financial strain. I stepped in due to family pressure and literal begging. I would never make this decision again. However, I would never give them up. They are mine now, and I know I changed their lives for the better, but man, we barely survived. I cut contact with most of my own family along the way, which seemed to help all of us grow as a family. I also realized exactly why I moved over 2 hours away from my family once I moved back to do all of this after 15 years away from home, left at 18. So we went from 0 kids to 3 just before the age of 40. At least we're already halfway to an empty nest, I guess. Story 4. Honestly, sort of sad, but not overwhelming. I was always ambivalent about having kids. I would have been up for it if my partner wanted them, but he didn't, and I was totally fine not having them. I still don't feel strongly about it, but that partner and I broke up a few years back, and now that I'm in my early 40s, it's just very weird to realize that, well, that window is probably closed. I mean, as far as I know, I could still get pregnant, but my current partner and I aren't in a place to be looking at that, and since we'd really have to try, now I'm accepting that it's just not going to happen, so yeah, there's some kind of grief, but it's a weird sort of grief because I never actively wanted kids and was always perfectly comfortable with the idea of not having them. It's more grief over losing the potential of having them in the future, I guess. Reply 1. I'm 39 and I feel the same way. Right now, with my current life, I don't want kids. But I've basically run out of time to meet a partner and find myself in a lifestyle where parenthood makes sense. And there's some grief in losing the choice. ETA. Do men genuinely not know that women's fertility window starts closing after 35? Reply 2. My situation and thoughts too. I think there is grief involved with that window closing for a woman. Probably also for women who already have kids. It's just something you always thought you could do, and now you probably really can't, even if you wanted to. It's understandable there is some grief in that. I have health issues that seem to be genetic, and coupled with not great financial circumstances, having kids just seemed irresponsible for me personally. There may be a kind of biological imperative, kind of desire to have kids, but my higher brain has never felt strongly about having kids. That is sad in some ways, but my sadness or regret over it will always be tempered by knowing it would probably not be a great idea for me to pass on my genes, and it would be a struggle to provide a child with what they deserve growing up. Reply 3. This is a great articulation of this grief that I've been feeling as well. My ex and I were on the verge of trying for kids before a really gut-wrenching divorce approximately 5 years ago. I assumed if it was meant to be, I'd find another partner and still have time. But that window is closing, and it's not something I feel strongly enough about to do on my own. And TBH, I feel too old to run around after a toddler. But it's not like this world-ending grief over something that I desperately want. It's more like the low-burning grief as you age of all the possibilities that won't come to be. Like I missed the boat on being a ballet dancer or a piano prodigy or curing cancer. Not necessarily things I ever wanted, but just recognizing the ship has sailed. Same with motherhood. Reply 4. Such a great point. I do think there's something unique about parenthood and bringing another human being into the world. But around 40, we all have to start this grieving of opportunities lost. We all have this potential, and by 40, if you haven't used it, most likely you never will. The band isn't going to make it. You're not going to be an athlete. You're not going to be an actor. And so on. At the end of the day, we all have to make peace with the lives we have and make the most of things. But we do grieve our dreams passing away as we get older and these opportunity windows close. Luckily, life is full of other things to enjoy. Story 5. I never once had the tingling feeling of wanting to become a parent. I simply don't have that want or desire or responsibility to raise a child, especially in this timeline we're living in. Then I met my wife, who thinks the exact same way. We both love traveling, backpacking, camping, etc. It's freeing knowing we can get up in a split second and go. Reply 1. I think my question is, as somebody in the same position as you, where and what is that feeling they're all feeling? Like, is it hunger? Is it a physical sensation of desire to have children and raise something helpless? Or is it more hormonal when a woman's going to PMS and she doesn't really understand the way she's feeling? I'm assuming it's the second one, but I've met a lot of women who struggled with getting pregnant, and they seem literally insane with desire. Like I've watched their personalities crumble and them sink into a deep depression and cut family and friends off over it. I don't have any of that, and as a 40-year-old woman, I'm very confused because I have the exact life that most people want to achieve before they have kids. So it's not a lack of comfort or safety or partnership or resources, and it still hasn't kicked in. I never expected it would, but I'm baffled about what everybody else in my species is going through. And I feel very much like an alien. I don't feel bad about it, but I definitely feel alienated from my own kind because a major life goal and desire is just not there for me. I kind of feel like it's as if I walked into a life where I wasn't supposed to come here. I was supposed to be somewhere else with different types of creatures. I don't feel like there's something wrong with me, more that I just don't fit in. And I don't feel like I meet a lot of other child-free people who understand that, because most of them kind of get why people would want to have kids, and I literally don't. It's as if there's a whole cult that says smearing poop on yourself every morning is the only way to go through your day, and I'm sitting back going, oh, that's disgusting. Why would you want to do that? Reply 2. I've been going through a mini crisis lately, as everyone in my life is either pregnant or trying, and you've summed up my feelings perfectly. I have a wonderful partner who also doesn't want kids. So I have someone who relates, but it feels different as a woman. I feel so alone, and there is no one in my life who relates. So thanks for this. It makes me feel less alone to know others feel the same. Reply 3. Lots of women feel just like you, but we do live in an expansionist, paternalistic society that still places a lot of subtle pressure on women to breed. I'm 59, going on 60 this year, and 40 years ago, when I made the decision to not have a kid, it was almost unheard of, and the pressure then was quite overt. Don't feel alone. The reality is that sex feels the way it does is a massive biological hook to get H. sapiens to do what is actually a dangerous process for women. Today, of course, with modern medicine, having a kid is far less perilous, but biologically, the danger still plays a factor in our psychology. Hence, the strictures placed on women by various societies, usually driven by men, to have families. Not wanting kids is entirely normal given its history of risk. Reply 4. I think it's a mix of all three. For me, the desired part is standard and familiar feelings of ovulation week. It's beyond the already crazy hormones of it. It's dirty talk, dangerous to fill me up kindly. The physical part was less intense for me, like a mildly obsessive yearning, but I felt that before over a latest project, goal thing I want to buy. The caveat with babies is that it's that feeling combined with a strange love, maybe hope, for something not even there, and you get the sense that it can't be contained. Almost like you're too full and need to throw up, except it's from the heart, and you just feel like you need to create this thing to hold the love that can't fit anymore. But it's not wholly obsessive. It's not personality shifting. It can be random. You can have one feeling, the hormonal one, and not the other. That's just how it was for me. Reply 5. I struggled with infertility with my second baby, and the desire for a baby was overwhelming. It gnawed at my insides. I was in physical pain from the desperation I felt. It's all I could think about, and it tainted everything I did. At work, thinking about the baby and leaving. With friends, thinking about the baby and friends who would have babies the same age. Grocery shopping, pricing baby stuff. You get the idea. It was all consuming. I recognized it was irrational, but that didn't help with the insanity I felt. When we had the second child, it vanished. I sometimes feel a pang when I see other people's babies, but I no longer have the feeling of desperation. I know we're done with kids. It's such a weird sensation. I do sometimes envy people like you who don't have that feeling. I don't regret my life or kids at all, but I felt controlled by this senseless burning need for kids, and I wonder what I didn't do because of it. Reply 6. This is actually so wild to read about. I have a lot of friends who are currently obsessed with getting pregnant, and I don't really understand it. Reading your comment made it make a lot more sense to me. I'm on the fence about kids, leaning towards no, but I could totally see myself being happy as a parent, but I have never ever felt even 1% of that kind of all-consuming desire to procreate. I wonder why some of us have that and some of us don't. I never liked babies or baby dolls as a kid either. Just didn't have that inclination like most little girls seem to. It never ceases to amaze me how different people are. Story 6. It's weird because all your child-having friends, which is most everyone, are completely consumed by their kids, so you don't relate as well with others. But also, it's great because I have extra money and I can spend it on whatever the hell I please. Oh, and I have extra time to do whatever I please. But sometimes I want to do something with my best friend, but she can't because of her kids, so there's positives and negatives. Reply 1. For what it's worth, I have friends who are childless, and while I'm consumed with my kid, I really want to be around my childless friends as well. Reach out to them, see if they want to hang out. I get desperate for that adult interaction. They might too. Reply 2. It's tough because I really go out of my way to see my friends with kids. I'm 35. Most of my friends have toddlers, but a lot of my friends just stopped asking about my life. It's always about their kids and their changes and what they said or ate or did. And while I have sort of accepted it 3+ years in, it does feel really crappy for your friends to just stop asking you about life. My best friend of years barely asked me about my honeymoon during any part of planning or the trip, or to have their only response be, "Wow, I wish I could stay up that late these days." It makes it really hard on my end to keep going out of my way. Reply 3. I feel this. I have had friends that turned into completely different people. Just not a shell of themselves, but bitter to anything that doesn't revolve around parenting life. It makes evolutionary sense that people with kids would be required to keep those children alive, but very few seem to have self-awareness about this. They say that their kids are their everything and that they lost friends after becoming a parent, but then they don't seem to realize that their friends didn't change. They did. We love you and we love your kid, but friendship is still a two-way street. Your world revolves around your kid, not ours. You still need to put in effort, but I understand they don't have anything left. Like the meme, "What if I don't want to live like you do?" "Oh, don't be ridiculous, Andrea. Everybody wants this." Reply 4. I would say the most negative part is that I don't feel like I have that much in common with the majority of society. Even when you do other child-free people, a lot of people didn't choose that life, it chose them. Or they secretly wanted kids but didn't make it happen. I rarely, if ever, meet somebody who literally does not understand or feel drawn to growing their own family. I also have no desire to help raise another person's kids or be around kids for long periods of time. So a lot of friends have drifted away after they had kids, and when we do catch up, we have nothing in common, totally different priorities and worldview. Things they like talking about and thinking about are absolutely not the same. That is the hardest part, but I'm not going to pop out a bunch of kids just so I have something to talk about with people around me. Reply 5. Yes, exactly this. We're in your 50s, married since our 20s and never wanted kids. We lost quite a few friends along the way who had kids, and their lives changed completely. Everything with them started resolving around their kids. No more time to visit friends, have friends over, or go out and do something. Chats turned into everything baby/school related. It's as if they lost their identities, no more hobbies or interests of their own. Luckily, we made a lot of child-free couples as well along the way. Our lives now are all about enjoying our free time. We go out over weekends, visit new places. We take part in sports, running, cycling, hiking, etc. We go on vacations, see the world, or just travel locally. We're set for a comfortable retirement financially, no debt at all. I look on Facebook now and again at old friends. They all seem so old and sad. I scroll through months on their timelines and there's nothing interesting happening in their lives. Good for them if they get fulfillment out of raising kids, but it doesn't look like it. When I talk to parents my age, they're all complaining about money, universities, not finding jobs for their kids, etc. The parents whose kids moved out complain about them not staying in contact. Each to their own, I guess. But we don't regret our decisions at all. Story 7. I can't even take care of myself, let alone have to take care of another living person. So I just do what I want with my life and have a great time doing it. It's pretty awesome. Reply 1. I know and have met so many dudes who are so tired, depressed, irritable, and feeling constant either financial or temporal stress because having kids has locked them into needing to generate a certain amount of income, which in turn keeps them locked into jobs they hate, and or they have no free time because they are working multiple jobs. I'm so grateful I don't have kids to worry about because I would have been forced to stay in an industry that was killing me. Reply 2. And they would probably say they don't regret it and that having kids is the best. I always wonder if they're only saying it because the alternative would be too depressing, that is, sunk cost fallacy, or because the children are the only thing in their life that gives them happiness, even though those children are often the cause of unhappiness. Reply 3. I think there is certainly a mix. I've had some very honest conversations with parents, and there are a few who will openly admit that they wouldn't have kids if they could go back and do it again. Like with anything in life, I think it's a mix of many things. Some people genuinely do just change when they become parents. Something clicks inside of them, and they can't imagine life without kids, no matter the hardships they must endure for their child. Others have kids, and only then realize that they would rather not have kids. Of those people, I'm sure a lot of them repress that thought out of guilt. Some people have confided in me that all of the sacrifices are simply too much, and they would prefer not to have kids. But there's nothing they can do about it now. Story 8. For a while, I was a fence sitter. It wasn't until 30 that I realized it was even a choice and not an inevitability. In U.S. culture, marriage and children are a common life script. It took time for me to acknowledge that that script isn't a good fit for me, and it didn't solidify until my late 30s. For a while, it was money and security as well as environmental concerns and overpopulation, but it was also simply a lack of real desire to be a parent. I've often wished we could live multiple lives so that we can try all the things, but in this life, I don't really want children. That was hard for me to grapple with in some ways because I was blessed with great parents and my mother was a fantastically caring role model. But my biggest reason for thinking about parenthood was fear of regret. That's not enough. Parents should really want their children. This is a whole other human being you're bringing into this world. They deserve to be wanted and loved and properly cared for. You're responsible for them, and it might not turn out roses. Parental anxiety doesn't magically dissipate after 18 years either. For the rest of your life, you are a parent. There are also a lot of physical things that can go wrong with pregnancy, especially the pregnant person, which are not talked about enough. Our society holds a very rose-colored glasses view of pregnancy as glowing and natural. It really messes with people's bodies, not to mention postpartum mental health. A lot of folks will argue that not having children is selfish. This is puzzling because those same folks will say in the next breath that having children ensures you won't die lonely. If you need to be a parent because that feels like your destiny and you are full of love, that's one thing, but if you're having children to safeguard your own future, now that is selfish. Not to mention the resources impact on the planet, etc., etc. If you are unhappy, parenthood won't fix it. If you are lonely, parenthood won't fix it. If you're following a life script in a daze, trying to check all the right boxes, take a moment to examine your reasons. If you want to be a parent, that's great. Best of love and luck. It's possible to live a comfortable life full of love while doing what you want, while taking time to give back to your community, while staying open and curious, and generally living a good life without adding parenthood into the mix. Reply 1. This is how I feel. I love kids. I love holding babies and spending time with my younger cousins. I love talking with my teenage cousins and learning about their interests. I love kids, but I don't want them. The idea of having them scares me. I love interacting with kids. I'm fine with babysitting and being responsible for them for a short period, but the idea of having my own full-time, God, no. My best friend recently became pregnant, and while I'm happy for her and very excited to be an honorary aunt, one of my first thoughts was the sheer terror at the thought of me being in her shoes, and not the expected kind of terror, the existential dread kind. And I've thought about it a lot recently, and one of the things I've come to realize is I don't think I would find it fulfilling. Putting aside all the logistics, I don't think it would be an enjoyable, fulfilling experience in the long run, and I don't think I deserve that, and I don't think my hypothetical kid deserves that. It seems like I would experience it as an obligation, not an honor, and I don't want that for anyone. Story 9. Can't believe there are people claiming child-free people don't care for the state of the only planet we call home. Of course we care. We have nephews, nieces, and family that will have kids that we care about deeply. I wasn't even going to comment because I'm only 34 without kids, but you weirdos with your assumptions can be annoying. Not having kids is amazing for some and sad for others. Reply 1. That's wild for anyone to claim that child-free people don't care about the planet. Many of us are child-free because we are heavily concerned with the current and future state of the planet, and we know this world is already overpopulated. The more that people reproduce, the more destruction of our land and depletion of natural resources there will be. I'm scared for what we're all leaving behind for the next generations. Reply 2. The main reason I don't have kids is exactly this reason. Altruism. There are way too many humans, and we are the ones causing the problem. Even just in the first couple years of life, how many mountains of disposable diapers, waste products, and plastics for things they grow out of immediately. An entire life of consuming resources and adding pollution. Having 5 kids is like the most terrible thing you can do to the planet. Way, way worse than wasting a bunch of resources and creating waste and pollution yourself in your one lifetime. Story 10. Hard. I feel like I missed out on the best parts of adulthood. First steps, taking my kid to school, coaching Little League, school plays, dinner table conversations, family vacations, helping them when they are hurt, Santa Claus, seeing them grow, arguments and apologies, grandchildren. It just never materialized for me. It's like I wasn't worthy of that gift, of even finding a wife to build a family. Sucks hard many days. I can put on a brave face, but deep down it's crushing. Male, 48, 1 sister who also has no kids. Reply 1, I feel the same. 45, female, and just never found a partner. And not only did I never have the kind of money needed to try on my own, I couldn't even take in my brother's kids when he died, but I had to leave my career as a preschool teacher because it was getting too hard to be around kids, which is not fair to my students. And I've made so many choices in life that work for my future kids. I think it would be easier if I physically couldn't have them because I could have mourned it as a loss and moved forward. But when it's just because time is running out, I feel like it's a dream that dies in little daily doses. And they add up. Reply 2. I am a 35-year-old male and permanently single my whole life. That part about not feeling worthy of that gift hits way too hard. At this point, what do? I've put myself out there. I've tried being myself, tried reinventing myself. Nothing works. Some people are just broken misfits, a match for no one. It's one of society's uncomfortable, unspoken truths.
Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story to these that you want to share with us, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.